Woo! This'll be a long one. Also a new one. Because full face cam, you love to see it. If I'm looking here, I'm looking at the script that I wrote, because I actually did that. If I'm looking here, I'm looking at myself, and here, looking at my camera. Most likely, I will not be like this, because I'm not used to this. So, it's probably gonna be like no clips, it's just gonna be me talking. So, just put something else, do something else, just listen, I guess. I don't really know. You do you. Let me start by saying, I love CW, I love DC, I love its characters. Movies can do with some work. But like the shows, I love them. Alright? I love the heroes. They're all fantastic. With that said, I'm gonna start with the Arrow. It's my favorite ArrowVerse show. It's the one that started it all off. It just makes sense that I'd talk about it first. Now, my first introduction to Green Arrow was in Justice League Unlimited, which I'm going to be referring to as JLU for short. When he was making quips in a grocery store with a dumb hat. I was expecting that going into the Arrow. And it was gritty. It was probably the closest we're going to get to a live-action Batman show, because Gotham didn't want to give that to us. I enjoyed Gotham, and it was more of a Gotham story than a Batman story. I just wanted to see Batman. Oliver literally kills about 3 people in the first episode because they saw his face. That is amazing. I love that. He was also one of the first heroes, unlike superheroes, to actually be okay with killing. And that was such a fun concept to watch. From the first episode, I was hooked, and season 1 and 2 of Arrow were amazing. They're probably the best in the Arrowverse, depending on what you think of Flash, if that's more your style. Dig always made sense, and Diggle, I call him the Dig, so we're gonna stick with that, but Diggle and Oliver were always correct. The only difference between the two of them both being right is just your perspective or how you think, and that's perfect. That's how they should disagree. One shouldn't inherently just be completely wrong. And Felicity was funny. She wasn't inserted everywhere, she had her own style of humor, and she worked well as a background character. It was perfect! And it was hilariously funny as well. There were so many times where, I don't know if they were intentionally trying to make you laugh, but they got me. They got me good. So many times, like them making fun of calling Oliver the Green Arrow. Hilarious. Like, and the Hood is the best moniker any superhero could have before they got their name. Hell, it's better than a lot of heroes' names. The Streak? Bro, what kind of moniker is that for Flash, alright? The Hood? It's a perfect moniker for Arrow! Green Arrow, Oliver, the Vigilante, it's all... The Hood is the best one we've got. It really is. Although season 2 had a little bit less murder, which actually made sense for the character because Tommy died, and Oliver would not want to have anyone else go through that. Clear line, it's a good reason to stop killing. Slade was perfect. We finally got to see how these two characters interact in the present, and through the flashbacks, what made them have this large animosity towards each other. It was amazing, and I loved Slade, and I will never hear "Hey Kid" in anything other than Slade Wilson's voice. Ever. It's not gonna happen. Although, Slade kinda did start the trend of pretty much all the Arrowverse characters playing 4D chess against Oliver, which kinda gets annoying, but Laurel was kind of annoying to me. I never really liked her, but I could stand her in the first couple seasons. First couple obviously being just the first 2. She was fine, and she worked well as just the DA, and like, maybe Oliver, because the whole Black Canary thing, it's like how it's supposed to go, but they did it pretty well, and they didn't make me hate her at the start. They had good chemistry, and you can see if they continued on with it, that it might have worked out and she might have been a good character. And Roy Harper as Arsenal is my favorite protege just ever. It was perfect. I loved seeing Roy and how Roy did himself. He wasn't just a Green Arrow clone. He didn't use the bow that much, although he was very good with it. He didn't really use it that much. He just went straight for fucking punching, and that was amazing. And it was such a contrast between Green Arrow just getting a normal, just the same as him, but younger and less skilled. And it was just fun. However, season 3 kind of starts downhill. From this point, the League of Assassins are pretty much behind everything, and they kind of ruined their impact. Because in the first season, it took Oliver, not the first season, but the first time they show up, it took Oliver and Sarah struggled to beat one League of Assassin member, and later on Laurel just decks 5 of them. In the same season, she got beat up by normal street thugs. Don't know how that happened, but it did start League of Assassins being the cause behind everything, and their kind of power level weakening. But with this being said, Oliver becoming they call him Roz, and I hate it. Like, it's Raish, right? Everyone in Arrow calls him Ra's al Ghul, when it's supposed to be Ra's al Ghul. Did they just not have the money to pay to say Ra's al Ghul? I don't know, but it bothered me so much. I kind of forgot to continue my thought, but Oliver becoming Ra's al Ghul could have been interesting, but you shoved it to the last 3 episodes. Like, that kind of ruined it. And, like, he's working with Malcolm, and, like, I kind of excused Malcolm. I didn't really want them to kill him off. I could see why everyone else, like, in character would want to kill him, including Oliver. I think he would want to do it most. But I was kind of indifferent to him working with Malcolm, mostly because I didn't really want him dead. But Oliver becoming Raish was, like, so... You could have had it become a lot sooner and had it have been a lot more interesting. Season 4, shit really goes down. I mean, Oliver, the same one who came back and was like, hey, I will not abandon this city in Season 4, ditches it at the end to go be with Felicity. Felicity becomes the main character. She becomes everything. We get a whole background story of an adventure of her in college. I don't know who asked for that, I don't know who wanted it, and I don't know who cares! And Laurel thinks she's such tough shit, and I'm pretty glad she just dies. I wanted it to happen since Season 3. I did not like her at that point. I wanted her gone. And they finally gave it to us. Only to bring her back. And no way she trained who with a normal boxer, ex-vigilante boxer, but like not as good as Oliver, can just suddenly just take on some League of Assassin members? No! No! The only person who I could believe that wasn't trained by either Ra's al Ghul or Oliver that could land a hit on a League member was fucking Quentin. Alright, this man punched a League of Assassin member and lived. He shouldn't have, but if anyone could do it, I'm very glad it was Quentin. I don't know why Laurel stood a chance, or anyone else stood a chance, besides like Oliver, Sarah. But you know, Quentin's got it, honestly. Darkroot's also a wild change, because, you know, the whole magic in Star City. Yeah, everyone just knows Season 1 was kind of bad. Honestly, they just took away all the focus from Oliver, shifted on Felicity, they made Oliver do kind of dumb things. Roy's barely in it, I think. And that just makes it worse. The only good thing is Thea learning Oliver's the Arrow, which was a really good scene. I'm pretty sure that's 4. Can't be asked to double check, but Thea learning Oliver's the Arrow is perfect. I loved her reaction. And it was different from everyone else's. Because a lot of people just go like, oh my, why didn't you tell me? Boo-hoo, you killed people. No, Thea was on board. She was like, oh, this explains a lot. Thank you for, you know, saving the city 3 times over. And it was a nice change. For Season 5, we got not Laurel. Earth 2, I think it was, Laurel. Who, I would have been more fine with her if she stayed evil rather than, oh, we're gonna make her good, but then we're gonna have this one episode where she might go bad again. If you just made her evil, and then you had to have them stop her, just like normally stop her, fine. But like, you're playing this constant just chase around. Is she good? Is she bad? Who cares? I hate Laurel, and I hate not Laurel. And you've already killed any chance of Arrow being with Black Canary, because now Felicity's like official. So, I'm not interested. Molten was also kind of just annoying. He kind of took away, and like, from everything, really? And Felicity was just getting pissed about his existence, which she like stops talking to Oliver twice for the same exact reason of him not telling her, even though William's mother was like, yeah, dude, that was my fault, don't blame Oliver, I literally asked him, and it's not even Felicity's place to say anything, it's not her kid, shut the fuck up. But William was just kind of annoying, and he just took up space. Like, I could have watched the entire thing without him, but like, I never wanted to punt him into the ground, so... Is it really that bad? I just realized I said Season 5, and I didn't even, like, touch on Prometheus, because in my mind, I always switch up 5 and 6 with their big bads. Like, for some reason, I think Diaz comes in 5, but, like, so, yeah. Prometheus, I loved it. It was an actual consequence for Oliver's actions. It made sense. He was a badass. Oliver's proteges, although I don't really like Renee, Curtis, or Dinah, the two that do leave, I liked. I liked Artemis. I believe that was her code name. I liked her. And honestly, I didn't even realize it was supposed to be Artemis. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't put the connection that it was like Artemis, like Young Justice side. I didn't really put that together for some reason when they said Artemis, even though I've already watched Young Justice. But I liked her. And I also liked Ragdoll, Rory. He was amazing. I liked him. Renee got annoying. All he wanted to do was punch things, and he was wrong most of the time. Dinah would have worked better if it came before Not Laurel, and we didn't already have Not Laurel trying to be the Black Canary. Like, if you just went to Dinah immediately, instead of trying to bring back Not Laurel as Black Canary, I think it would have worked out a lot better. And Curtis is just the worst Felicity, and he knows it. He knows it. And anything to do with those T-spheres could have just been thrown away. Someone else could have solved it. I guarantee you. There was not a single, like, only T-spheres are viable here that the writers couldn't just bullshit in something else, like they did with the T-spheres. And Diaz was kind of annoying. I'm gonna be honest. I wasn't interested in his rogues at the start. His whole, like, web of just people that he controlled and then backstabbed. I also wasn't that interested in Diaz being Diaz, trying to just destroy the thing. But, it caused a ripple in the Team Arrow, and, like, honestly, good riddance. Oliver can do this all without you all. He did it for long before. Oh well. Oliver gets back, and he's, like, working with the team again. And Oliver's like, hey, do this plan. And Renee's like, I don't want to do that plan. So he doesn't do the plan. And then they all get pissed at Oliver, like, your plan wouldn't have worked. How would you know you didn't even do it? Yeah, Renee's plan worked out, but who's to say Oliver's wouldn't have? And Renee was the one who messed up the plan. He didn't follow through with it. That's his fault. I don't know why you're getting so mad at Oliver for wanting you to stay to the plan. Sure, it worked, but what if it didn't? What if your plan did not work? And who's to say Oliver's wouldn't have? That was the plan they agreed on. That was the one they should have followed. Unless that plan physically fell apart, which it did, and Renee just went out of his way. That plan wasn't going wrong or anything. It was fucking stupid for everyone to just be like, oh, Oliver, bad plan, Renee's worked, but, like, yeah, no way of knowing that, and that wasn't how it was supposed to go. Season 7, I was interested. I really enjoyed the Oliver prison arc. It was nice to see. And it made sense. It wasn't The Flash, which I will talk about when I get to the Flash's category, where it was actually Oliver sticking to his word and going into prison because it was the right thing to do, because he gave himself up. It makes sense that Oliver wanted to do that. And that he actually did. He could have taken out all of those, whatever they were, FBI, CIA, whatever it was. Oliver could have decked them all, but he stuck to his word and went in prison. And the last episode where he escapes was amazing, and I loved it. I loved the long take action shot that they did there in that the prison escape episode. It wasn't really a prison escape, it was the prisoners rioting, but, like, Oliver got out at the end. It's not even a prison escape, the prison riot episode. I liked it, and I really liked the Vigilantes storyline. Like, the thought of the Vigilantes storyline. I don't know if this was specifically Season 7. I did like the Vigilantes storyline of, like, hey, this guy's just doing what Oliver was doing in Season 1. Why is he so wrong? And then it kind of went off the deep end, just, like, wanting to kill everyone and everything, and, like, kind of a little bit less interesting. However, that's just me. And the Emerald Archer, that episode was fantastic. I enjoyed the news documentary a lot more than I enjoyed the actual episode and its plot, which is wild. But, like, the Emerald Archer, like, documentary is really what Oliver deserves. And, like, if that was its own thing, I would love that. Like, just those parts. It was amazing. It really was. And I love it. I love that. It makes sense and is like something someone would do to actually praise the Green Arrow. Or the Emerald Archer, because, you know, alliteration. It's not alliteration, they sound the same, so could it be considered alliteration? I don't know, but I don't do very well in English. We're gonna go to Season 8. I loved the alternate worlds. The Earth 2, I believe, was the first one they went to, with the Batman mask on Lian Yu. Oh, that one. That looked amazing! The whole world just getting exploded. Perfect, alright? Loved it. Rest in peace, Harry and Jesse, but... Oof. But, like, I loved Oliver's arc pre-Crisis, which was pretty much the entirety of the season except the last 2 episodes. I loved seeing Oliver actually doing Oliver. He was kind of on his own. He was doing what he thought was right, what he had to do. And there was no one else to drag him down. At the start, I know he kind of groups up with a lot of people eventually, which really did work, because it was mostly Oliver taking the reins, and I never really felt like they were dragging Oliver down. And the redemption arc for Anatoly was perfect! I loved seeing Oliver and Anatoly act like brothers and reconcile their differences, and seeing all of that, and all the little moments Oliver got to teach Mia, like going into the fighting ring. I loved that. Like, genuinely, Season 8, I love it. I don't think it's as good as the first 2 seasons. Maybe that's just nostalgia, and like watching the first, I'd probably have to rewatch it, but I really did enjoy Season 8. I also loved the scenes with him, Mia, and grown-up William. Honestly, I loved that. Those interactions were amazing, and it really makes sense, because they wouldn't have Oliver have an impact on his children, but he dies before he could. I don't know how I feel about them never reaching out to William. That just strikes me as wrong, but I guess that just gets undone. Because in their past, in their future, the first future, you know, we're getting the time shit here. The first future, they didn't get in contact, but in the rewritten future, post-Crisis, when Oliver says to, when they tell Felicity to, like, hey, let them meet up, you know, that kind of changes everything, because time fucks with everything, as Flash discusses, but this isn't Flash. So we just kind of have to go with it for Arrow. And, like, I kind of liked it, honestly. Like, I liked seeing grown-up William and Mia talking with Oliver. And I really liked Mia. Like, I'm gonna be honest, like, pretty good candidate to hand over the Green Arrow torch to. And, honestly, Stephen Amell was the perfect person to play Arrow. I'm only going to be thinking of him and his Green Arrow whenever I think of the Green Arrow now. And now it's perfect. That is perfect, dude. And I love it. And we're getting into Crisis territory here. Oliver shouldn't have died in the first episode. He shouldn't have. And then you bring him back as, like, the Anti-Monitor's kind of host. I forget the terminology, but that's essentially what he was. He was the Monitors, not the Anti-Monitors. My bad. And then you killed him again? Kinda BM, honestly. Kinda BM. And honestly, I didn't even watch the last episode of Crisis. Oliver died. And that was it. I was done with it all. Oliver stopped the Anti-Monitor. That's where it should have ended. There shouldn't have been an episode 5, so I didn't even bother. And then, after that, the first episode we get after the Crisis. You know, the big crisis they've been hinting at for years. That Oliver was dreading. That Oliver died in. Your main character and titular character died in this event. Is a Green Arrows and the Canary show off? Really? I don't want to see this. I don't want to see an alternate future. Mia doesn't remember shit about what happened. None of it. I don't want to watch this. I don't want to see future Laurel or Dinah being the Canaries, because I hate both of them. And I only like Mia based on what I've seen in her past. But Oliver's time shit. What we saw with her and Oliver. I wasn't even that big of a fan of her in her own flash forwards. I wanted to see Roy. And after the Crisis, you don't show us the first thing being how the time change altered everything like they did in the episode after. How everyone dealt with Oliver's death. No. We get a showcase for their new spin-off series. After the most dramatic thing Arrow has ever done, which is actually die. Not fake die, but he actually did commit. I was about to say commit, that's the wrong term, kind of. He did sacrifice himself, so like, he died is the important thing. And I really liked the last episode. Like, I really liked it, and it was a good send-off. But, like, that should have been Oliver's send-off, not the send-off to the show. If you wanted to hint the Green Arrows and the Canaries, put that as the last episode. As, like, a little special teaser. Oliver's story ended, here's how here's how his legacy continues. Not, oh, Oliver's dead. What about the future? No, I don't care about the future. I want to see how everyone's reacting to Oliver being dead! It honestly just annoyed me so much, and I don't know why I'm getting so pressed about it. With all of this ranting, some of it negative, some of it positive, Arrow is still my favorite CW show, ever, if not for the first 2 seasons alone, and I really enjoyed season 5, and I think season 7 had a really good episode when Roy comes back, where they all lie about him murdering someone. Amazing! And Emerald Archer also exists in season 7, I think, when the police are vigilantes, which is stupid on its own. I don't even want to talk about that, that's so dumb. Arrow's still my favorite. It fucked up a lot, but it kind of got back on its feet, and it did end very well, and it started off perfect. And the first 2 seasons were perfect, and I'll always have that, I guess. Moving on from the Emerald Archer, we're gonna go talk about the Scarlet Speedster. That's right, The Flash. And The Flash is a really good turn from Arrow's gritty universe into a more comic, fun, bright, and kind of jokey show. They don't really take themselves too seriously, and they're just trying to have fun. And it shows. Season 1 is amazing for that. And Grant Gustin, honestly, puts Barry Allen as my preferred Flash. I think me, and maybe other people, I don't know, I don't really speak for everyone, except my opinions are always right, so everyone just kind of thinks of, like, Wally West, because of, like, Justice League Unlimited. And comic fans, Wally's just kind of gone, like, a lot better than Barry did, you know, on his own. I'm pretty sure he has a lot more, like, technical feats than Barry. And he's also just called The Flash. Wally isn't really Kid Flash, that's, like, Bart Allen. And then Young Justice also does the same thing to Wally, as calling him Kid Flash, but Young Justice is actually really good. But like this The Flash has put Barry Allen as my Flash. Like, I probably would have thought Wally West, because of Justice League, the animated one, of course. And Grant Gustin is the perfect person to play it. I loved him as Flash, although he's not the blonde counterpart, as like the comics and a lot of other versions of him. Grant Gustin plays it really, really well. In season 1, Iris just being a reporter makes a lot of sense, and she works. She's not annoying, and she's very bearable. Cisco and Caitlin are amazing, and the Wells twist was perfect. Each character in Star Labs is smart in their own unique ways, including Barry Allen. Barry Allen is a CSI, he has a big brain and can think fast, and read a bunch of shit in a little amount of time. I'm a little bit upset that, like, the visual cues that we get in episode 1 in the pilot don't carry on throughout the shows, you know? Like, kind of like the Sherlock thing where they just, like, they show the detective work. However, this isn't really, like, that much of a detective show, and you kind of got to use the budget for season 1 and get that renewal and, like, get past the pilot, which I understand. I'm just a little upset we didn't get to see more of it. And season 2, as I said, my opinions are the correct one. Harry is the best Wells. That's a fact, alright? My opinions are objective. Harry is the best Wells. Jessie is also amazing. Love her, dude. She's just... Zoom plan kinda sucks. Like, he just wants speed, right? So why doesn't he just lock Barry up on his Earth, just zoink him to there, and then just be like, hey, Caitlin, Cisco, make me a way to steal it, and then you can have Barry Allen back. He won't have his speed, he won't be the Flash, but you can have him back. Like, he's still Barry Allen. And they'd recreate the fucking experiment anyway, so, like, he'd be able to get it back anyway. So, doesn't really matter. There's probably multiple ways that this plan that I propose could fail, but I'm not big brain and I'm not the show writer. But the plan, it just kind of seems lackluster. Like, why the hell did Jay Garrick really have to infiltrate and, like, gain everyone's trust and date Caitlin? Although that's probably just Caitlin's thing, 'cause she just dates on all the new characters. But, like, it seems kind of bad, like a bad plan for Zoom to just do all of this shit. Season 3, just kind of bad. It's a whole That's So Raven episode of them just misunderstanding the Vision, and it's not interesting at all. They take it too seriously. Iris isn't gonna die, to be fair, her relationship with Barry, kind of fucking weird. They're brothers. They're siblings. You can both call the same person dad. That's weird. And in the first season, he had more chemistry with Linda and Caitlin. And in season 2, perfect companion and Patty. At least Arrow had the balls to, like, shift away when everyone realized no one liked Laurel and people were liking Oliver and Felicity better. They ruined that in season 4, but they did it, and they stuck with it. Iris and Barry are fucking cringe. No one likes Iris. Kill her, please! Sapphire doesn't even make sense. He's not even a closed time loop, and I don't even want to talk about that right now. I have a whole thing of just labeled time travel. I'm not going to talk about that right now. Season 5, Cicada. I liked Cicada. I liked what he could have been, and I liked his redemption arc as the original Cicada. However, you couldn't have had him do all this bad shit, and then have him try and undo it as himself. No, the second he had a change of heart, you kill him and bring in just a stereotypical, ooh, bad guy, and it's just his future daughter. What the fuck? What? Barry Allen killed Cicada. It would have made a lot more sense for Grace to hate metas. The Flash kills the original Cicada. Grace gets well, grows up knowing that a meta killed her father, so she goes back in time to kill the same Flash, the same Barry Allen that killed her dad. Perfect, works. None of that alternate time shit. She just wants to come back and kill the same thing that killed her dad. It works. There's not... All you'd have to do is Barry take a life, which he already did with the sand guy when he throws a lightning bolt at it. But I guess Earth 2 lives don't matter. He also stands by and lets the gas guy just explode in a fucking tank, and has that one guy push his hand off and falls to the fucking pavement and dies in season 2. Also, Iris kills Savitar and doesn't change her anything. She's perfectly fine. Oh, killing someone will change you. It doesn't. It really hasn't. Out to anyone. Barry's killed. Iris has killed. Who cares? Just kill. Stop dangling this. Oh, will the heroes kill? No, we've seen that before. We don't need the same people giving the same fucking speeches. And season 6 set up Barry's death, but I don't think anyone fell for it. Anyone who was really interested in Crisis probably knew the Arrow wasn't getting renewed, and the Flash was. Oliver's gonna die. I knew that once I knew Arrow was ending, I knew Oliver was gonna die, and I really didn't think they would do that with Flash, and guess what? They didn't. And the lessons that they learned are all wrong. Barry shouldn't have to teach Cisco to be a leader. He should have to teach Cisco how to live without his best friend, because Barry has lost a lot of people. Maybe he knows how to deal with it. Barry lived without him in Flashpoint. Not for long, which is a mistake on their part. Really should have been longer, but... And the lesson with Killer Frost? Oh, don't kill. Killer Frost was the one that talked him out of killing Cicada. She fucking knows. And the guy didn't even die. And not because Barry saved him. He just didn't die from Killer Frost. I don't know, man. You really didn't have to teach her that. And the last part, the mirror dimension shit, really could have just been sped up. It didn't need to be so drawn out. It was really uninteresting. And they made, the mirror girl, Eva, the big bad, when it really should have been the guy. All Eva wants to do is get revenge. Oh no, she trapped Iris. Who cares? Good! That makes me like her! Getting back to season 4, because there's some things I forgot about and I really want to rant about. The trial of the Flash does not make sense. Barry shouldn't have even been tried. Where is DeVoe's wheelchair? DeVoe cannot walk. Just DeVoe's body with a little pool of blood is in Barry's apartment. Are you trying to tell me that Barry Allen picked up DeVoe, took him to his apartment, and then killed him? Because the blood's still fresh there, and if Barry didn't kill him in his apartment, there will be blood, a blood trail in his apartment, rather than a little droplet. But the wheelchair isn't to be found. Nurse is trying to tell me a CSI doesn't want to cover up a murder scene. I doubt that. I really doubt that. Also, doesn't DeVoe have a cut here that just exposes his brain? Surely someone could have noticed that. Also, Barry has speed. He could have just zoomed the body out of there. Why didn't he? He's stupid. Because they forget Barry has intelligence. But you know what episode didn't forget Barry had intelligence? Flash Time. One of my favorite, and probably the best, because my opinion is law, the best Flash episode. It highlights Barry's power perfectly. Barry has smarts. He's trying to figure out how to undo it. He knows what everyone's talking about when they suggest solutions. And it shows him being a hero, willing to get rid of his own powers and everyone else's powers, which is kind of a dick move, but to save the city. It's amazing, the camera work is great, and it's the best representation of Barry's speed. We get to see pretty much what he sees, but a little bit more to the extreme. Too bad it's followed by Run, Iris, Run. I hate Iris. I don't want to see her have powers. Also, Barry losing his powers is overdone. This is the 4th or 5th time. It's not interesting. It's one of the dullest moments in superhero stories. I don't care. It's not fun. It's not interesting. I hate Iris. Barry's stupid this season. I don't like it. Let's talk time travel. The Flash pretty much operates in alternate timelines. We see this with Flashpoint. Barry goes back, makes another timeline called Flashpoint. Eobard goes back to kill Barry's mother. To kill Barry, but he ends up killing Barry's mother, and it creates our Flash's timeline. Those two instances show we work in alternate timelines. Not time loops, not changing the past affects the future. It's one long line. So if you were to go back to the past and change something, that would not cause a domino effect in your future. That would put you on an alternate timeline where that change happened and then cause the domino effect. But Flash doesn't do that. Flash wants to have every time travel option just available whenever they want it to. They show changes being permanent, like when things just start getting erased, like one of Barry's selves when he's watching. His season 1 self just gets erased when Barry goes back and saves his mother. Why? I don't know. We see things getting erased, like Savitar's memory. But this shouldn't happen if they work on alternate timelines. At least from my understanding, which is probably very little. Alternate timelines and time loops do not coexist. If you change something, you create a timeline. An alternate timeline. Like time travel. Time loops is what Harry Potter does, and this is my example because it's the best one that I can comprehend and know off the top of my head. Harry in Hagrid's hut always gets hit with that rock in the head. He gets hit with the rock, things play out, he goes back in time, Hermione throws the rock at his head. Then they continue on, and then the Harry that just got hit in our Harry's time with the rock also goes back to the future goes back to the past with Hermione, and then that Hermione throws the rock at that Harry's head. Then that Harry, and it just keeps on going on. Harry knows he can do the Patronus because he saw himself doing the Patronus. And it didn't mess with anything because Harry didn't know it was him. Harry's lying there. He sees the Patronus. So when he goes back in time, he knows he can do the Patronus because he saw the Patronus. That's time loop. What happens always happens. It's set, and it will always happen if things stay intact, like how they're supposed to. Savitar exists in the Flash, where things are either, apparently, you change the past and you kind of affect, like, Barry forgetting his memory, causing Savitar to affect his memory, which really shouldn't happen in just alternate timelines. But that's not a time loop, really, because then that should have happened originally, and blah 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 blah, time shit. Savitar's time loop is a Barry Allen fights a Savitar. Barry Allen goes back, takes some time remnants, fights Savitar. Savitar kills all except a time remnant and a Barry Allen. That time remnant gets rejected, then becomes Savitar. Goes back and tries to do the same thing. Essentially, he wants to recreate himself and keep the time loop going. But there is no time loop. And we see that there's no time loop because it doesn't happen. Our Barry Allen doesn't go back in time to get time remnants, so it's not a time loop. Because it doesn't happen. So Savitar's whole plan relies on his own misunderstanding of time travel. And I'm supposed to take this guy threateningly? He's got a Zuko scar. How did he get that? We don't know. My favorite theory is that he was like, wait a minute, the Savitar I thought had a scar. How did he get it? I'm just gonna give it to myself. And that's my favorite theory. He just like, it's about time where I go back to be Savitar for a different Barry Allen. Why don't I have a scar? I'll just give it to myself. Burn. That's my favorite thing, because Savitar, he's really fucking whack, dude. He doesn't make sense. He's not supposed to exist. Like, you don't make sense. Your time travel is whack, and you look kind of stupid. He looks like kind of like a CGI mess, and his suit doesn't even get past the rule of cool, alright? Zoom's infinitely better. Just Zoom's mask alone is better than Savitar's shiny, spiky armor. That they really want to make him look threatening. This man looks like Aang when he jokingly put on all that armor and wanted to buy it at the pirate shop. Or like the shop where they got armor, where Sokka wants to get a sword in Season 3 of Avatar The Last Airbender. Like, that's what Savitar looks like, and they make fun of it in the best show ever made, Avatar The Last Airbender. However, Flash is still pretty good. I would still rewatch the first 2 seasons of Flash. All the time, really? It's really great, honestly. Like, I do enjoy The Flash. Just the first 2 seasons. Everything else kind of falls off, especially season 3. Everything's better than season 3. But Supergirl is the show that I have the least amount to say. But that's because I didn't really enjoy it that much. The first season was mediocre, and I really didn't like the second season or the third one. And I really only watched it because of the actress that plays Supergirl. Melissa Benoit. I think that's how it's pronounced. French, maybe, I don't really know. But she's like the only reason I fucking watched past the second season. Her origin story is basically a Superman origin story. And I was interested to see like the Supergirl that I knew from JLU. And not saying that like what they do is bad, because I like the change from JLU's Green Arrow. But this one was just a Superman story, but without Superman, and kind of ruining Superman. Like, I just kind of look stupid, alright? I don't really like this Superman. And if I want to watch a Supergirl, I don't really want to see Superman. Especially when this Supergirl is Superman. It just seems kind of redundant to me. But none of the characters really stuck out to me, and I never really grew an attachment. Like in Flash, I liked Cisco, and I liked all their side characters. In Arrow, I had the Dig, I had Roy, and I really enjoyed Thea for a while. Supergirl, I don't have any of that. I don't like any of the side characters enough to keep me interested, and Kara's kind of boring. She's only my favorite character, because I have an affinity to the titled character, because that's just kind of me. I usually like the titled character and the typical hero story. It was just kind of boring. I don't really have anything to say about Supergirl, really. It's just felt kind of lackluster and didn't really enjoy it that much. Sorry, I guess. I might rewatch it in the future when it finishes, but I wouldn't rewatch it for fun. In the slightest. It was kind of entertaining. If I wanted to rewatch it, could I? Yeah, I could. But I don't think I would want to rewatch it. Now, I don't really see Black Lightning getting talked about a lot. And maybe that's because the hero's, like, really low on people's radar. I don't hear people talking about Black Lightning that much, even, like, before the Netflix show. So maybe that factors into it. But I wanted to watch Black Lightning because of my affection towards Static Shock and the Static Shock show that existed in the DCAU. I didn't get the same feeling that I got with Static Shock and Black Lightning. The only character that I was really interested in was Jefferson Pierce. Maybe that's my natural affinity to the titular character. Maybe that's because I actually like Jefferson Pierce as a character. I can't really tell you. But the only characters that I really liked were Pierce, Jefferson Pierce, just Jefferson Pierce, Gamby for the most part, and TC, who was a character introduced later on. So they didn't have a chance for me to really hate a lot of his decisions. And it was kind of cool, I guess, you know? But they try and do a lot. I'm watching Black Lightning to see Jefferson Pierce shock some nerds. I don't want to see Anissa thunderclap some fools, or to see Jen thirst over Painkiller, whose name I forgot when I was writing this script, and it's coming back to me that the guy's name is Khalil. All she wants to do is smash him, and I don't care. I don't care about these characters. I don't like them. I hate most of their actions. I'm not invested in them. Black Lightning really just made me want to watch Black Lightning. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is the thing, like, after Jefferson Pierce comes out of retirement. This made me want to watch Jefferson Pierce when he was younger. They constantly make jokes like, oh, Jen's stronger than you are in your prime. We don't get to see what he was like in his prime. Oh, this suit, the old suit, was what helped him in a 20v1. That's cool. And they make fun of it. Like, dude, that's a superhero suit. It's not a fucking clad iron armor that this new one is, alright? This one's just, like, pads. It's, like, plastic strapped onto a normal, like, Velcro suit. It's, like, medieval armor with, like, things in between, like, the joints. You're out here dissing it for the sake of trying to, like, boost up how good your new armor is. Looking like a fucking medieval knight set. No! That suit has probably been through a lot more, and I'd rather see Jefferson Pierce in that shit and see his adventures in that than what we get to see on the show. I'd probably rewatch it, honestly. It wasn't that bad. I was never really that aggravated, but that's because Jefferson Pierce was also a main focus. I didn't really feel like he was always pushed to the side ground. So even though I really didn't like seeing Anissa or Jen, I still got to see Jefferson Pierce more than enough for me to be happy with it. And I could excuse a lot of Jen and Anissa's actions, although I didn't agree with the majority, at least for Jen. Anissa kind of had some points. I could still appreciate when they were on screen, and that Jen was always pushed to the background. Anissa was the main focus daughter anyway, and she was the better one. At least in the later seasons. I think I kind of like Jen in the first season more. That's because she didn't really have a chance to ruin anything. But I'd rewatch Black Lightning. Maybe in a while, after like more seasons. I won't watch the first 3 and then go back and rewatch the first 3. But I enjoyed it. Now, Legends of Tomorrow. As a joke, I haven't even watched Legends of Tomorrow, and I have no desire to. In the slightest, I don't want to watch Legends of Tomorrow. It's a show where they throw characters on just for no reason. Characters that work better as side characters, who were introduced as side characters and written as side characters to be the main character, and just throw them all together. I'm not interested in that, and I really didn't even like them as side characters. Like, the best character there was introduced in season 2, and that was Sarah Lance. Sorry, not sorry, and I don't even want to watch that season. And Batwoman, I guess. I only watched the first episode of Batwoman when it came out, and I was kind of underwhelmed. Like, not even just whelmed, I was underwhelmed. I didn't like it. They didn't push the message as hard as I thought they would in the trailer. You know, like this, like the women are better. But it did make me feel like it was just a coincidence that the character happened to be female rather than the entire drive of the show. Good, that's how you do a good story. That being said, I was underwhelmed, and I just wanted to see Batman. Scratch that, honestly. I could have been fine without Batman. I have Arrow Season 1. I want to see some Nightwing. Alright, Dick Grayson is the best character in the Bat family, including Batman himself. Like, fuck off. I want to see some Dick Grayson. I want to see some Nightwing. And every time they mention Bloodhaven, mostly in Arrow, I just want to see that. And now you give me Batwoman. And, like, I don't even like Batwoman that much. I'm gonna be honest. I would rather Batgirl. Barbara Gordon. Give me that shit. And I know Batgirl has existed because Oliver makes a quip that Oracle was taken. Oracle is Barbara Gordon. So I know she exists. You can show me something a little bit in the past. I would rather Batgirl than Batwoman. Maybe that's just because I knew Batgirl before. Like, I wasn't really in the know about Kate Kane as I was about Barbara Gordon. So maybe that's just bias talking. But how we all know my opinion is the correct one. Sorry, the right opinion. I would rather Batgirl. But more than all, I want a good Nightwing. And I'm waiting for Titans to get better. I haven't watched Titans, but I know the first season's kind of a garbage fire, and I think they're fixing it for season 2. I hear that's not that bad, and they're actually making Dick Grayson. But until then, I'll have Teen Titans and Young Justice as my Dick Grayson and as my Robin. I don't know how I'll get into this topic, but Batwoman, not whelmed by it. Probably going to be watching it though, and I'm probably going to be watching the Green Lantern, the Green Arrow, and the Canaries, and Stargirl when they all get finished and put on Netflix, because the CW website is shit. There's so many ads in the episode, and it's all just bad. I won't have to watch Batwoman never again. That's all I have to say. CW starts off pretty good usually, but then it all goes to shit. That's the consensus. Which is a shame, because they have really good characters and all. At least I'll always have Green Arrow Season 1. Hope you enjoyed for some reason. If you did, please subscribe very much to my Fragile Ego, and see you on the next one. Bye.